This is Sophie Heller, and this is an SAT support question. So this question's asking us about a con man, and it's going to be very open-ended. So we want to see, this is a bit of a different approach. We have a lot of different words that could fit in here and completely change the meaning of the sentence. So we just want to see which of the two blanks are going to go together well. So let's first look at our first blank and see what we're really looking for. So we have a con man's blank is most often some type of person who is unable to resist the promise of personal gain. So actually, let's look at it together. Let's look at the two blanks together. So I usually recommend against doing this, but since it's such an open-ended thing, we don't know if we're talking about the person the con man is targeting. We don't know if we're talking about his friend or his enemy. So let's just see how the two blanks work in conjunction. So our first choice, con man's target, so target, that makes sense, someone the con man's going over, is most often a negligible person who is unable to resist the promise of personal gain. So negligible means that you don't really pay attention, you kind of neglect things. It does make sense that a con man would target someone who's negligible, but it doesn't really make sense that this negligible person is, someone who's looking to gain more money. So that doesn't really make sense because we have this part of the sentence. So let's get rid of that. Choice B. A con man's protege, so someone who's following in his footsteps, his apprentice, is most often a magnanimous person. So magnanimous just means you're really charitable, you give things to others. So that doesn't really make sense. Someone who's studying under the con man is not really going to be a generous person, so that's not good. Choice C. A con man's nemesis is most often a naive person who is unable to resist the promise of personal gain. So a con man targets a lot of people, but you really only have a nemesis if maybe he had a different con man who also worked in the same area. He's his nemesis because he's competing for business, but he's not really targeting this nemesis, so it doesn't make sense to have this answer choice. Choice D, con man's mark, so same thing as target, is often an opportunistic person who is unable to resist the promise of personal gain. So opportunistic really makes sense with this part of the sentence because someone who's opportunistic is someone who is looking to make things better for themselves by any means possible. So that is a really good word, so I like this. And let's look at choice E. So I'm assuming that a lot of people have chosen choice E. And that makes sense because you have a con man's ally, so someone who's working with the con man is most often a gullible person who is unable to resist the promise of personal gain. So that does make sense, and I really see how you could have chosen this because the con man could say, hey, you should really work with me. Yeah, it's not very good, but here, you'll make a lot of money and you're really helping out me. So it makes sense that this would be something good, but I think that this opportunistic goes a lot better with with the promise of personal gain, since someone who's gullible is someone who's just being deceived, but someone who's opportunistic is someone who's looking to get richer, looking to make a lot of money. So that's why I think choice D is going to be slightly better than choice E.